What's up, Edified Tribe? Today's not going to be an episode, just a quick check-in. I want to make sure that everybody's feeling good as we enter 2024. And I've got a few announcements that I want to make. So first things first, it's a new year, y'all. A new year for us to start new goals, accomplish new things, reflect on last year, and really be intentional about this year. Some things that have been on my mind is, for one, what does God want for me to do this season? 2, who do I have to put first and foremost in order to get things done? And 3, how can I get out of my own way? After talking with a lot of friends, I would say one thing is clear, and that's that we want to put God first and keep him in the center. But it's easier said than done when you're actually in the reality of day to day. So I want to encourage you guys to create vision boards like I discussed last year. Pray every single day, have morning devotions. I know a lot of churches and a lot of congregations are fasting. So make sure that you get into that if that's of interest. I'm going to actually start fasting. I think it's January 16th. I think 16th or the 14th to February 6th. And this is right before I end up going on a vacation to explore a new territory that I'm probably going to move to, which I will keep you guys updated on that as well. But I encourage you guys to fast if you feel it. And then ultimately, I just encourage you guys to think of this year as a new beginning, because time is not promised. During New Year's Eve, I brought it in the morning at a church and then later on in the afternoon at a church, or, to bring in the New Year's. And there were some messages that really stuck out to me. Matter of fact, I want to go ahead and give you guys a few tips and a few messages that I received. All right, so I'm looking at my notes. So yeah, one thing about last year that really stood out to me was that even though the enemy was trying to knock your girl down, just bop, 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 back and forth, I'm still standing. Like, the enemy could not take me out. And I really believe it's because I brought in 2023 in the church. So let me give you guys a few messages and a few tips that I got while I was bringing in 2024. First thing is, does it really matter? This was a sermon that was preached by Real Talk Kim. And Real Talk Kim is more so like a motivational speaker in my eyes. I realized that when I went to her church. She was just getting me ready for the new year. But one thing she asked was, does it really matter? And if it doesn't, let it go. Too many of us are holding on to things that are never going to change, and we only are accountable for one person. It's us. We cannot control anything else but us. So does it really matter? And if it's out of our control, we give it to God and we let it go. Take accountability. Is it your fault? Is it? You keep running into the same guys because you have a type and you won't let it go? Do you keep having issues with your girlfriends and falling out with people because you got a big mouth and you can't be trusted? Is the reason why you haven't lost any weight because you keep stuff in your face with the cookies and the crumble and the Ben and Jerry's and all that? And I'm just speaking to myself right then and there. That was to me. That was to myself. But take accountability. Whose fault is it? If you realize that your life is not going the way you wanted to go, I would say do an internal assessment for sure. Start new mindset this year. That was another thing I put down in my notes. Starting a new mindset. I got too much purpose to be petty. Too much purpose to be petty. This year, Kennedy is not going back and forth with y'all. Not on the internet and not in real life. And that leads me to my next thing. Unfollow people in real life. That's a word right there that I got from Real Talk Kim. I said, yes, I'm letting go of anybody, anything that does not serve me. And I'm not talking about the people who hold me accountable, because sometimes we get a little twisted where we cut off everybody because people say things we don't want to hear. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people who continue to betray you, the people who continue to put you down. They never want to uplift you, the people who you have outgrown. I'm talking about those people, ladies, to unfollow them in real life. When you get the right people in your life, they'll clean the things you didn't even need, that you didn't even know needed cleaning. When you get those people in your life, you'll start to see clear because you have that circle around you that's uplifting you, where you guys are on the same page about things, where you have the same values, the same morals. Really think that through. We don't walk in fear this year. We need to walk in faith. So that was some tips that I got from my first one. And trust me, I got a many messages, y'all, But then also the night of 2023, bringing in the New Year's countdown, I went to another church called 2819, ladies. And if you're in Atlanta, the metro Atlanta area, try out both these churches and see what fits best for you. I went to Limitless Church with Real Talk Kim. Then I went to 2819 with Pastor Philip. And three areas that he said we should focus on is related to our hearts. And for one, it's the hearts of entitlement, misalignment of hearts, and hearts of complacency. So ladies, I want for us to dig deep this year and forget all the materialistic things, forget all the, oh, I want to be a baddie this year, and I want to have a new purse this year, I want to buy a new car this year. All those things are great, but I want for us to really work on our hearts this year. Work on our hearts. Hearts of entitlement. You are not entitled to anything. Nothing. And this humbled me. When he said this, I was like, I felt my stomach like start to bubble, because sometimes I get entitled, but you're not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to control anybody's feelings, to control how people react to you. You're not entitled to any money. You're not entitled to time. So that's why I'm telling you to treat every single day like it's your last, because you're not entitled to anything. And sometimes we feel so entitled with God, like he owes us something, but he doesn't. Misalignment of heart. I'm seeing a lot of people just doing what they want to do with no care in the world, just being extremely selfish. You want to make sure that your heart is aligned with God's heart, because that's how you know that at least your soul is operating correctly. Everything else you can work on and you can play with. I thought about this. Everything else, we have the ability and the power to change. But when it comes to our hearts and aligning them with God, that does take patience. It takes work and it takes time, but God is willing to wait and work with us through that. So make sure that you're aligning your heart with God. You can do this by looking at scripture to learn who God actually is. You can do this by listening to worship music. You can go to church, which is something that I, of course, love to do, is actually get around people who are more well-versed about God than I am. And I get to learn from them as well. And of course, praying, talking to God, having your own relationship with God is so essential. And there's no right way to talk to him. There's no right way to pray. If you just call on him and you ask him to do a work in your heart, you will start to see your life change and you'll start to see yourself shift. So alignment of hearts, and last thing is hearts of complacency. I don't want for us to feel stuck. I don't want for you to keep pushing back that job or pushing back that business or pushing back dating or pushing back on getting your life together in whatever area that you're wanting to work on. Don't be so complacent. This is the year of movement. You got to keep going. You got to be very, very intentional about everything that you do, because I don't know, I just feel in my heart that this year is a year of shift. In the spiritual world especially, a lot of spiritual people are saying they just feel like it's time to pick a side. Either you're on one side or you on the other side, and you got to pick one. So I want for everybody to not be complacent. I want for us to stop associating with the enemy and operating in fear, and instead operate in faith, which is what God wants us to do, because he has so many promises for us. And I really want for us to just keep that in line. God gives all good gifts. This is another note that I had in here. And then James 4, it's not wise to boast about tomorrow. And that kind of touched me because Glorilla, come on now. I just was listening to that song maybe a few days before I went to that church. And then he completely reminded me that tomorrow is not promised. It's not wise to boast about tomorrow. What you do today is very important. Time is not promised. And one thing the pastor said is that you'd be an idiot to be the same person in 2024. Let me tell you, this pastor don't play. I respect it. I like it. It's very upfront, and he's from New York, so you get the energy, you get the vibes. But that just let me know that this is the year for us to really actually see progress, do it, and stop just talking and be about it. I just want to share that word with you. I've got a series coming up to end off season 2. Season 2 has been really good this season, getting some guests. And so I've got a series coming out next week, and it's going to be about relationships and accountability. So right before Valentine's Day, we'll be talking about relationships, but also sprinkling in a lot of conversation about what we can do in our dating lives, not operating in fear, not operating off of social media and what you're seeing, not paying attention to what our mamas and daddies went through or what you went through in the past because you made bad decisions. We can be accountable and we can start fresh. So that's what this series is going to be about. The series is going to end in February, but stay tuned. It's dropping next week. Your girl had to take a week off to spend time with family and friends, and I really enjoyed my break. But I'm back in action, so I'm back, and I'm better than ever. Just make sure that you follow me on social media if you haven't already. Go back and listen to season 1 and just see the growth even in that. Like, see the growth even from season 1 to season 2. That's what I want to inspire others to think about. It's like, when you start something, you're not going to be perfect at it. And you got to keep going and keep going and keep trying in order for yourself to get better. So I'm actually right now about to get ready for another vision board party. I had another one last week. Normally your girl has a big old annual vision board party, but my dad, aka my bald-headed accountant, has been holding me accountable about my finances and budgeting. So I'm unable to spend money and do what I really want to do. So I just split up my vision board parties with small groups, and we're going to bring it in the way that God sees fit. We're going to pray before we do our vision boards. We're going to think about what he wants for us, not just about our own selfish wants. And it's going to be a great year. So I'm about to go ahead and take a shower, go ahead and put things together for my guest. But ladies, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting. 2024 is your year, and don't let anybody else tell you any different. Goodbye.